Right. Hello to the fab people on the internet. What you're watching is a Gauntlet Hangouts game. For those who don't know, the Gauntlet is a cool internet community who's come together to play cool, interesting games. You find them on gauntlet-rpg.com. It's a nexus for all the things they do: podcasts, blogs, zines, and Gauntlet Hangouts, where this game was arranged. We are playing. Hold on, over here. I'm going to use this because I spent a lot of money on this. We're playing Spire. The City Must Fall, written by Grant Howard and Christopher Taylor, published by Rowan, Rook, and Deckard. Links down below. It is a game about, class revolution in a strange fantasy punk city. Before we get to introduce our players, since we have the same kind of roster, we'll just stick to like names and pronouns. I've realized that I shouldn't be spring loading the if people watch my games before, I ask people to shout out a thing they like. This time that's optional. You don't have to do that. If you want to shout yourself out, that's fine. But yeah, I'll start with yourself there, David.
Hi, yeah, I'm David. I'm based in Sheffield in the UK. I'm looking forward to playing some Spire this evening. And I use he, him pronouns.
Fab. And then yourself, Diana. Or Carmen, whichever you prefer. Sorry.
I go by Diana Moon online. And I go by she, her, and I'm excited for this game and for the fact that I actually wrote a game.
Ooh, I'll put a link there on for your game down in the description. And last but not least, we have Jim.
Hey, I am Jim Crocker. Folks who know me from outside the Gauntlet know me because I sell a whole lot of games at conventions all up and down the East Coast and the Midwest. On behalf of Indie Press Revolution, the folks who distribute this very game that we are about to play to hobby stores and sell it, and they sell it on behalf of the designers. You can find me at Jim Likes Games on Twitter and jimlikesgames.com online, where I do a lot of talking about gaming.
Fab. Again, links all down there. You don't have to go to Google. You just scroll down. All right. So before we get into Spire, let's talk about the safety tools we have, because the main concern here in the Gauntlet is to make sure that everyone is playing in a safe, comfortable environment where they feel, where people feel good about playing this game. We have lines and veils as always. Lines are things that will show up in fiction. Veils are things that will happen in fiction, but we're gonna put a veil over it. It's gonna happen off screen, and we're not gonna linger on it. And I'll always note that lines and veils for our players are on the character keeper. Always keep those in mind. And we also have the X card as always. That's a more proactive tool where if we ever roll into a scene that's that gets uncomfortable, or it just has some stuff you prefer not to us to get into, you can just say X or put the X in the chat or on the roll for your party room that we use. No one gets to question why the X cards are being played. So if it's played, and we're gonna roll back and figure something out. And I drop my dice. I'll do that. And last but not least, we have the open table policy, where basically, if for any reason any of you need to step away from the game, whether because of an emergency or it turns out you were just not up for it today, that's perfectly fine. Please say so, shout it out, and we'll stop the game and let yourself go. Don't feel bad about it. It happens, and we're gonna roll with it. So those are safety tools we have. Now, let's get back to Spire. So a quick pitch for this is that you're our cell of the foremost revolutionary group, our ministry, the Ministry of our Hidden Mistress, and you've been sent to find a dream. Now, this isn't metaphorical. This is literal. People are selling dreams in Spire. There's one that's gone virulent. It's gone viral, so to speak. God, I just realized that. And it's a dream called Revolution, and y'all have been sent to find that out. But who are these people that's been sent here? Let's go to the same order and tell me about your character and a cool thing about them.
Certainly. So this evening I will be playing Eliphet Rue, who also goes by the pseudonym of Death's Head in his guise as a vigilante. Eliphet is in the bound class. Basically, what this means is that he's acrobatic, good at climbing with ropes and the like, and he can communicate with the small gods that dwell in certain pieces of his equipment, which allows him to do some unusual things with them. Cool thing about him is he has an awesome mask that looks like a death's head moth when it's unfurled, but it also furls up to be more discreet when he doesn't want to be in his superhero guise.
It's nice that you basically have to pray to the god living in your grappling hook, and you can do this death-defying leap. Yeah, up next, Diana.
I play Isho, whose class is Idol. During their durance, they were a pet, and they've both loved and hated their durance. And that basically led them to become an idol in which they do mostly performative art, but also a mix of singing and string playing. And they like to mess with people's ideals of like with what they consider beauty or what they see on the surface. And yeah, like I think that's a really neat thing about them. They're taking their anger that they've had about the high elves and have transformed it into something where they can inspire from within, hopefully.
All right, and finally, Jim, tell us about our good buddy. Well, tell us more about her.
I don't know that she's anybody's good buddy, but Jezara is a priestess, a carrion priest of the deity known as Charnel, whose remit is to kind of see to it that flesh is returned back to flesh. Her followers believe that rather than whatever like esoteric funerary rites, kind of mainstream drow religion practices, that the proper way to dispose of your body when you're dead is to carry it up to the top of the spire where wildlife from the world above can get at it, where the birds can reach it, where the wild hyenas, as opposed to the domesticated hyenas, the kind of barely domesticated hyenas, can get at it and consume it and turn it back into flesh back to flesh. And so she was a hunter, kind of like a native guide in the colonial sense, where like when elves wanted to go hunt exotic creatures from the surface, she, during her durance, was bonded to one of these hunting dogs, a hyena, that kind of became her companion, and led wealthy nobles and stuff on these hunts. Would do something like, if there was some monster that they wanted some high-ranking elf to slay, I would harry it and tire it out for a couple of days before the hunting party came along and then did it in. So I am I think kind of unlike some other drow in their durance, I probably spent a lot of time on my own and kind of outside the realm of kind of day-to-day discipline that the elves might might have imposed. But that also means that I am not particularly familiar with the ins and outs of proper society and stuff like this. And I think the other thing we established last week is that, like, I tend to draw attention where I go, and particularly attention from the authorities, because I walk around armed, and I walk around with this great big, mean, possibly vicious, feral, dog that's the size of like a Saint Bernard, who like I can speak to, and it seems to understand what I say. And we go around and preach to the peasants and make their food edible. And in exchange, we ask that all we ask is that they give themselves to Charnel when that day comes.
Oh yeah, you and Duskrin certainly got into adventures, and we'll get to where we left you off in the previous session. But I want to like just round through all the other characters first. Well, actually, no. I want to know. We'll lay out exactly what happened in them, and I think we'll definitely resolve where we left off Jazara last session. If I remember correctly, Elifet, you have kind of blended in the crowd, basically. Well, what happened to yourself last session?
Yeah, certainly. So we were going to meet with the sisters, who are a group of drug dealers who we believe have got involved in the dream trade. We decided to go and have a meeting with them at their place of business. As I've forgotten the mission sage's name. As Pyrrhus and Ishel were kind of making the approach to the building, I was watching from the rooftops, keeping an eye out. And yes, once I'd made it to the building, I slipped into the crowds to reappear at an opportune moment.
God, I love these Spire moves. Ishel, where did we last see you? You're in a, well, not predicament, but you're in a situation.
I was in my element. I had glamored to be the guard's ideal type, which happened to be a tall, slender male elf, and am pretty much distracting him while Fierce goes inside and gives the opportunity for the others to go inside without being detected or noticed, at least. And Ishel's having fun with it.
Well, so is that guard. Finally, Jazara, you were in a situation.
Yeah, so we kind of started things with this, like, because of the kind of heightened level of civil unrest that this revolution dream has been creating. There's a lot more of a like a civil authority presence on the street than there normally is. There's guards and patrols and stuff like this and everything. And kind of Jazara tasked herself with kind of holding their attention, and just was walking around the market very openly with, several kind of squads of guards just sort of like standing off around her in case any trouble started. But we kind of managed to, but none of them jumped the gun, and Jazara, didn't do anything rash. And she found her way to a soup kitchen, for lack of a better term, like a food pantry, like a place that feeds the indigent, and was able to, using the blessings of Charnel, restore some of their food that had spoiled to where it was edible again. And I think when we left, there was a guard that had decided he was going to get pushy, or I don't remember exactly what the situation was.
What happened was you were talking to the proprietor of the soup kitchen of this place.
Oh, and he started spouting. He started spouting like revolutionary zealotry at me, and I was telling him to shut up if he didn't want to get start, to get us all in trouble.
Probably you had your hand in his mouth.
Yes, yeah, definitely remembered that. It was like one of these, like like covering his mouth and pointing at him, going, "Shut up, or you're gonna screw it up." Like, yeah. If you talk about it now, you won't be around to talk about it a week from now. So.
Yes, and before we close the session, our sadly absent Vermisian Sage Ferris decided to throw a wrench and just like, oh, what the? I think let me see the move again. Yeah, declare the two NPCs are connected somehow, and he declared that this poor old drow is connected to whoever's in that scene, and the only people left in that scene are, well, yourself, the hyena. I don't think there's a connection between this old man and the hyena, and well, that would be weird. I mean, I have to justify it, but I think he specifically said one of the city guard, and yes, what did happen is one of the city guard was kind of edged. What I'm imagining is the hyena, Duskgrin, is kind of on the front, and this city guard has just strode past Duskgrin, and this city guard, the way they're dressed is that it's full. It's full metal, like gray armor covering. So they got a chainmail and whatnot, and they have this big mask. Because that's the thing with higher classes, that they wear big masks, and this one is like just big cold metal, and this face is just expressionless. You don't see any part of their head. It's like there's an illustration in the book actually. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I think I'll bookmark that. So exactly like this. Big back off like city guard, and it kind of straight up to you, and you see, they got pistols. Wow, that's cool. They've got they kind of pull out their pistol, and they're like, "My lady, I would advise that you get your hands off this citizen of Spire." Can't tell what their genders are now. It's just this cold, rumbling voice behind this mask. You're muted.
Sure. And so I kind of like cock my head and glare at him for another moment, and then, yes, sorry, and like, pat his tunic.
I would advise. Oh God.
He was, and I turn and I cock my head, and with like a grin. Like half a grin, I say, he was about to reveal the secret recipe for the stew that he cooks, and I didn't want anyone else to hear.
The city guard chuckles at that, and they're like, "Oh, there's no secret to Farron's stew. It's just an overdose of onions. But I would advise my lady that people of your ilk," and they kind of gesture to the hyena, I would advise that you stay away from humbler establishments. Your presence is outsized in these parts.
I fear that humbler establishments are the only establishments which will allow us through the door. And I turn to the chef, to the cook, and I say, use the gifts of charnel as you will to feed these people. Forgive me for any offense I've caused.
And the old man just nods. I think they've been scared stiff by yourself, and they kind of scramble. To the back as the city guard kind of leans closer to you and says, it's almost a whisper, as if they're speaking away from their colleagues, and they're like, "Oh, believe me, that wasn't a threat. That was advice. I would rather that whatever you bring would not cause harm to the people around here. Whatever your presence might entail. Red Row it's a hive but normally it's a powder keg right now, and people of your stripe may just inadvertently set it on fire.
I am here as you see me to help these people. Whenever things become difficult here, the first thing that stops is the merchants who bring the food.
Yeah, and they nod, and they're like, well,
I do not wish to make trouble for you any more than you wish to have trouble with me.
Then you would not mind performing myself, not the city guard, but myself as service. And they kind of take off the mask, and you see that it's another drow.
Which is is that unprecedented, or is that just unusual?
It's a bit unusual, but it's not unprecedented. I think some people do have endurance in the city guard. I think
Got
very
it.
much.
Okay.
Yeah. And they look old. They almost look like this. Not nearly the same age as the old man there, but maybe like a decade or two younger.
Yeah, like, and I like he does that, and I curl my lip because that's like, oh, you're spending your time beating up your own people. Like, I don't say that, but like the expression on my face is like oh.
This is a she, actually.
She. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you wouldn't know anyway because they're wearing the big mask. She kind of she smirks at that and it's like, we could have a long debate about this, and believe me, I've heard it all. But you hear what my brother says? The revolution shall sing the spire to waking. Like I said, Red Row is a powder keg, and whatever this dream is, it's going to set it off and set a fire that'll catch many in its wake. And you seem to be vested in making sure that revolution catches as few lives as possible. Or have I mistaken you for something else?
And I like narrow my eyes and I say, I would never speak of revolution. That's sedition.
She smirks and says, "Good, you've gone."
But if one were to happen, the less of our people's blood that flows in that change, the better.
Yeah, she sighs and it's like, "Well, you've learned the words well. This dream, I would like to pursue it for myself, but my hands are tied with my work. But you seem freer in your emotions, my lady. And we have many leads, but no means to pursue them all. We have more onerous." And when she says onerous, you can feel like the weight of like, this is what she's done. What other things she's meant to be doing. The more onerous deeds to be done.
If you're sincere, then give me a token.
She says, "Of course, all right." And then I think what she's gonna give you is there's an entire neighborhood, and I think she's gonna explain a bit. There's an entire neighborhood that's been walled off because they think that's where the dream sprouted from. And she's gonna give you a token, which is basically a writ pass to get to that neighborhood. It's in the form of an amulet, we'll say. Good for bringing yourself and maybe 2 colleagues in.
Oh, by happy coincidence.
Yeah, a very happy coincidence.
Excellent. Okay.
All right. So I think she says like that this place, this town has been walled off, but we've not had much contact with it. There's fear in the higher ups that this dream is more contagious than that is believed. And of course, because it's walled off, we can't confirm much of what's happening inside. Only that there's been an incident that has led the people to revolt. And let me see. But this should let you and those who want to find out more inside.
Cool. I nod and I tuck it away and kind of walk past her out and click a couple of times at the dog, and it falls in step next to me, and I go back. I'm going to try and find my friends here.
Okay, I think when you step out, like the city guard kind of like tense again, but when she steps out, her mask is back on, and she says, "This priestess is only doing her duty. Let her pass." And I think she kind of nods at you as she kind of leads them away. I'm gonna say you now have a bond with this person, and the way bonds work is that you can get them to do favors for as long as you have that bond. But when you do favors, depending on the favor, stress is gonna build up, and there's specific fallout for that.
Sure. What level is she? Is she street?
Individual. You don't have a street is for a group. Individual is just for.
Oh, got it. Okay. So what's her name?
Yara. So Yara of the City Guard.
All right, I got it.
All right. So let's jump to your friends. And see what they're up to. Ishel. So you're with this guard. You are their dreamboat at the moment. He's shooed Ferris in. But he's kind of like, so you're interested. So what brings you to the sisters then? Like, why come all this way to meet with the foremost drug dealers in Spire?
Well, as you know, they tend to have the power, and they tend to have the pulse on everybody around. And I like having power.
I think you're still kind of his dream mode, so he's gonna be very free with you. He's like, oh, the sisters there, they've got all sorts of fingers and all sorts of pies. Yes, they're quite powerful, but he kind of leads forward very conspiratorially. But they've been having troubles lately. You know about dreams, right? Dreams.
Oh, of course. Some would say I might specialize in fulfilling dreams.
He giggles at that. Well, you seem to be exceptionally good at it, but the sisters, they've been trying to get a toehold on these dreams, and the thing is, it's so new, it's so different. Like all our usual contacts, all our normal methods of making drugs, it's out of it's. You know how it is when people invent new things, and it's always the inventors who get there first. I mean, you seem to be very interested in this sort of thing, like, but I don't know if the sisters would have what you want. I mean,
yes, it is something I've been interested in, but I can multitask.
Well, your friend is off to meet probably the most boring of the sisters, though the one who does business.
He likes boring, so that works out.
Yeah, well, now I have to question why you're friends with someone that boring. But I can take you to the most interesting sister.
Really?
Yeah, if you're interested, anyway.
And Ishel, like, does the whole like finger down the chest kind of thing. Down is like, of course I'm interested, and I'd be delighted that you feel like I should meet them. You two must be very close to have that kind of trust.
She, well, I would say she's the nicest sister as well. Like Victoria cares about the business. Elizabeth cares about herself. Harriet, she cares about being interesting and about doing interesting things. Without her, the other two are just, they're just people who want to be big. But I'll take you to her. Like if you're interested in that sort of thing, she's kind of the brains behind the operation. She's the one who wants to make new drugs instead of just doing everything else. No, yeah, go on.
And Nichelle smiles and is like, that's exactly the type of person I need to speak to. Of course, once we get through the door, I'll have to purport myself a little bit more civil. And I like take a step back just to show because I know the glamour's not gonna work on the other sister, so
All right, yeah, and I think when you say that, his face lightens, lowers a bit, but it's like, well, so long as I see more of yourself in the future, hopefully.
I can count that as a possibility.
That's a promise then. And yeah, he opens the door, and when you walk in this warehouse, it is it's not just up full of stacks and whatnot, it's boxes. It's a hive. It's a weird mix of like cantina / workplace, as there is like it's a higgledy mess of like there's a section there where there's clearly a bar and the people are like talking loudly, dancing, whatnot, but there's a section like just boxes of things being moved and things being sorted. There's like inventories. There's lots of weird stuff, and the constant thing there is just motion. It's a lot of like middlemen and workers just working around, and you've got these like and what you notice, I think, especially Isho, is there's a lot more like enforcers around, like kind of dressed like the guard, but you can tell that it's almost token that he was out there at the front. He was a doorman, and here is a bunch of people in masks. Like, and it's again, it's not like the city guard masks. The city guard masks have like round faces. These are more like like drama masks. Like they're it's like it's like a crescent mask with a face that's very neutral and kind of sad looking, and you see them kind of like just standing still. They're not even patrolling. It's like they're arranged in a way that covers the room fairly well. And
So are they like almost lifeless, like mannequin like, or like standing at guard kind of way?
I think the effect is definitely to make them look mannequin-like. But you can see one or two of them are swaying. And they're more like those guards at Buckingham Palace, those poor
Right.
sons. And
But with the masks, it reminds Michelle of like of her time during the Durants, where we've had to stand like statues for parties, and so she tries not to sneer at that because those were not fun times.
I think and I think when as you're being taken down, you're being led through this space. You're led through the breadth of the warehouse. You can see like there's a staircase leading up. There's a very nice like marble staircase leading up to what looks like a penthouse. But this guard, his name is Tybalt. I'll just say right now. So at least you don't have a bond with him yet. He probably thinks you do, but you absolutely don't. Poor thing. He's taking you. as he's taking you to space, actually, I want to ask Elifeth, who are you watching over at this moment? Are you watching over Ishel or Jazara?
I think I'd probably been making my way to keep an eye on Jazara because she was in a more exposed. No, sorry, not Jazara. Sorry, I'm getting the names confused. To Ishel, because she was sort of in a more exposed position. But I think I might have gone over to Jazara on her encounter with the guard.
All right. Yeah, I just want to have that in my mind, just so I know how to see where we're going. So we'll get to you, the two of you. Yeah, no worries. Sorry about that. We'll get to you meeting.
No, that's cool.
As Tybalt kind of takes Ishel to the back, and it's a maze of rooms and corridors, and it's all ratty. It very much feels like this is a place that no one's done up because no one could be bothered. And you see why when you get into like this big cellar room that reeks. It's a noxious smell of what feels like someone, and you'll see in a moment, someone has been trying to add together a lot of different liquids to figure out what they'd make. And it's a veritable like mad scientist room of like beakers and powders, and there's maybe one vent, and there's a big fireplace and a cauldron. What? as you see this kind of like hunched over drow lady in this big long actually no, I think she's probably wearing like overalls and gloves, and she's got these big goggles on. She's quite an engineer. She looks far younger than you probably expect. I think when you two of you come in, she kind of turns around and lifts up her goggles, and there's glasses underneath the goggles, and she's like, Tybalt, does your mom know you've been bringing strays in where they shouldn't be again? And Tybalt's like, but auntie, it's and he's kind of gesturing to you, Isha, as if to make his point. And Harriet kind of leans and kind of peers at you and is like, yes, that's certainly the type you always keep dragging in. Normally, but what have you been promising again, Tybalt? This time, look, I know the last one you brought in wanted gilded oysters, and I'm like, look, gilded oysters aren't even a drug. They're a high priced commodity. I think he's got his wires twisted up. Who is this now?
And I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Sorry. Ishel is still walking in as if they're still like, in the still glamoured state, so like more manlish and everything, but confident. And what was it? It's not that I forgot. I remember reading something that they don't do handshakes, they do some type of greeting. I already forgot it. It was like a special greeting, I think they do. And introduces themselves. I work for a buyer who's interested in unique dreams and drugs. And I was told if I want unique and brilliant, that you're the one I'm supposed to come to.
Harriet smiles, says, crooked smile. I think the weird thing you notice that she's probably close to your age.
Mm-hmm.
And she smiles like, oh, a seasoned flatterer, I see. Tybalt, your watch over the door. We're talking business here now. If we're done, I'll send back whatever's left. All right. Tibbs is like, well, used to this, and he kind of like slumps, and one last lingering look at you, Ishel.
Yeah, and Ishel gives like him a very like smile of like a promise for later kind of. But
Uh,
as soon as Tybalt's gone, Ishelle's demeanor turns more back to her own actual demeanor, which is very like diva-esque, because she is an idol and a pet, previous pet. So
I think Harriet actually claps at that, and he's like, "Ah, finally, some bit of honesty there." Although you seem to be very practiced with all these faces, my dear. Oh, this is gonna be fun trying to figure out who's who and who's really you, isn't it?
many have tried. I do enjoy the challenge.
Well, I don't. I don't like dishonesty myself, my dear. I prefer to, as you say, provide dreams, provide, exciting experiences. And because people are afraid of experiences, I had to rely on my sisters to make sure they get to the right people for the right price or whatever, because you have to keep things going, blah, 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 blah. But this, all these subterfuge, it's tiring. Do you ever get tired of wearing all these masks, my dear?
I do, but it's necessary. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to survive. Not everyone has the ability or power to be as they are. The High Elves make sure of that.
I think when you mention high elves, you can tell suddenly that because you're practiced at this, that this is also a bit of a demeanor which he's putting on. It's just high elves. That's like a soft kind of sigh. And it's like this constant performance. Yes, it's tiring, but I would rather people do it because they want to, rather than because they have to. But that's not what you're interested in right now, are you? Or unless I've mistaken you for another person, you're here for dreams. What sort of dreams are you looking for, my dear?
The kinds that can get you into trouble.
Now, you don't seem the type to go half-mast. You'd rather go full out. Are you dreaming of revolution, my dear?
I am dreaming of a time when we won't have to dream about revolution.
Now that begs the question then. This dream that's going around, and it's going around no matter what the Alfear say, this dream of revolution, do you want to spread it or to snuff it where it is right now?
Considering I've yet tasted that particular revolutionary dream, I don't know yet.
Would you care to have a sample then? And she goes to one of the desks and pulls out a small box, and she's like, "No, I'm not going to say where this came from because we're strangers, my dear. But inside here, this little box, inside here is another world, a world where people like us are free, where people like us don't have to do as we're told. Inside this box is revolution, my dear. Do you want to sample it?"
And I think it takes Ishel a minute, like, because that is very provocative, the idea of that type of dream. And of course, that the whole point is to figure out if that's going to help our cause and everything. But at the same time, she doesn't know this person.
Yeah, I was gonna say you start trusting people you met for the first time.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think. Hold on. don't think any of my advances would particularly work here. I think so yeah, it tempts her for like a second because of course it would tempt almost anybody. While that is what I am seeking, as you said, we are practically strangers. How can I trust you that you're giving me what you're saying it is? And considering I know it is not you or your sisters that make these dreams, how do I know it hasn't been experimented on or tainted? Or some knockoff you're trying to make?
Trying to think if this is a role or not. What do you want out of Harriet? Actually, I'll ask you that.
The truth, I think. I want to make sure that like what she's holding is what we're looking for, and what she states it's doing is what it is, and she's not trying to like gain a new plaything, or
Okay.
someone to experiment on. Because yeah, Michelle's used to that.
Yeah, sadly. Okay, I think if you want her to speak the truth, that would be a role, and we'll go
Okay,
through how that works again. I think that's definitely compel.
yeah.
Yeah. So you get a D10 for luck. You get the irrelevant skill, and then the relevant domain. I don't think you have any domains for this.
Occult? I don't know if that would count
Um,
or no.
I don't think so. She's not occult. She's
Okay,
yeah. I mean, there is an extent of it, I guess. I think, but she's clearly more on the sciencey side.
right.
She'd be more technology, really.
Okay. So then, one, and then I have compel, so that's just 2d6 then?
2d10.
Or 2d10, yeah, I'm sorry. I've been playing a lot of games with d6s. So,
That's
okay.
fine.
Alright. Reroll. So an 8.
All right. Let me look at my.
Could we take the highest one, right?
Yes, you take the highest one. And, I should have been prepared for this. Hold on. Sorry, the table of successes. Okay, all right. So that's a success. Let's say here the 8 to 9 is a success. 6 to 7 is success at a cost, and 10 is critical. And you don't want to get 5 and below because that's failures. So yeah. So I think when you say that, she kind of like a very petulant sigh, and she's like, "Well, this is why I leave my sisters in negotiation. Like I said, I always just speak the truth." And
I do appreciate that, but it's very rare I find anyone who are willing to speak the truth all the time.
well, that's as you said, it's necessary. And she kind of like she's waving the box now very like casually, and she's like, "I would love to be able to reverse engineer this, but I need to see this work on someone. And as you know, it's potent, is what I've heard. They've locked away an entire neighborhood just to contain it, but it's hard to find out. You hear it's hard to be able to do anything with it unless you get a feel for it, And when you get a feel for it, it has you in its grasp, right? That's the paradox. So, and as much as I'd love to go out there and figure it out, I'm here doing work for my stupid sisters who do nothing without me. So you, my dear, are gonna have to get a sample of this yourself. But if you feel, actually, I do have a hypothesis I'm gonna test out, and I'm gonna leave it for you to test out whenever you want, whenever you can. She kind of puts the box down, and she pulls out a small little tincture vial, and she says, like, "What do you think defeats revolution?"
And she would answer immediately. I'm just blanking out. betrayal.
That's certainly an answer. I was thinking, well, that's a hypothesis. I've thought of that. I mean, if you want betrayal, I have it over here. But this one, I'm interested in testing out. This dream, this is bliss. This is, I guess some people call it bread and circuses. This is just not caring. This is lying down. This is what this dream is. And she kind of tosses at you. She tosses at you very casually.
And I catch it very casually. Like, I'm used to having flowers tossed at me kind of thing.
She's kind of like, well, you can test out betrayal if you want, but if you ever catch yourself in the throes of revolution, see what bliss does for you.
I will. And I will be sure to let you know of the results.
I feel like we've built some sort of bond, miss. I don't even have your name. You have mine and my nephew's eye as well, apparently.
Well, your nephew, as sweet as he is, will probably not be able to recognize the next time I come by. But I go by a shell.
More masks. Well, you do what you do, Ishel. And yeah, I think we'll cut away from there. We cut to Eliphet. We'll get one more. If that's all right.
Yeah, sure
Unless
thing.
you want. Okay, so Eliphet, you're hooking back up with Jazara, yes?
That's right. Yep. So I think as Jazara is walking away from the tent, and the sort of guards are carrying on their patrol route, Eliphet will sort of come out of the crowd behind her. I trust the bootlickers didn't give you any problems.
No, not so much.
Good.
Nothing I couldn't handle. We should talk somewhere away from all of this.
Quite so. We should probably make sure that Ishel and Pyrrhus leave the warehouse safely. But then, yes, I think
So I think we're gonna just wander in just kind of move in the direction of the warehouse, right? To make sure that Ishel is getting out okay.
Yep, that sounds good.
Muted. Sorry about that. All right, so I think there's no hassle Ishel getting out. I think once you kind of what the prevailing wisdom in this warehouse is that once you go into the depths of Harriet's lair and you come out, you're grand. okay, maybe not. I think our sisters would probably like keep an eye on, because as Harriet mentioned, she's very trusting. She doesn't know how to lie, but you should be able to walk out fine. And I think no part knows Tybalt is nowhere to be seen. He's probably getting an earful from his mom.
Probably. I feel a little bad for him, but you got to be on your guard at all time, And so I think Ishel would have looked around for like Pyrrhus to make sure he was okay, because I think she worries about him a lot, but then head out.
There's no sign of him for now. I think. Oh God.
Can we can we author in that he told us what he was going to do?
Yes.
Otherwise, like the sensible fiction thing for us to do is to drop everything to find him.
Yeah,
True.
no, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I think yes. Off screen, and well, Stephen, this and he goes back. He's probably been given like a lead, another lead as well, because we all have leads, and he's gonna pursue his own for now.
Yeah, I mean, it's super easy to say he passed us a note or
Yeah.
had a runner come up to us and tell us to go on without him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So I guess it's the three of you will meet up in front of the warehouse, or maybe there's even or even like a nearby bar or someplace, or you just meet up.
I am fine if we want to just smash cut to the three of us are wherever our little safe place where we get together to meet is.
Ooh.
Do we have like a little safe house or a place?
Yeah.
Does one of us have an apartment that we usually gather in or something like that? What is the...
Ooh. Actually, do you have a safe house, or do you want to meet at someone's home?
I think since Ishel is of high society, I think she would have like kind of doing like a hiding in plain sight kind of thing, is like, and have people come over, because obviously she wouldn't ever have any low class people around her. She's an idol, it's like only the best of the best. Maybe the occasional fan, like someone from the fan club, would show up.
Yeah, or people that are working for you, presumably.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely. I think that's cool. Yeah, kind of hiding in the shadow of your status is a thing that I can certainly see us, the rest of us doing. So
yeah. And Ishel's also doesn't like to slum if she doesn't have to. She'd rather be
fair,
comfortable. So I think after maybe like passing out like some refreshments, like as soon as we get like into her commode, her whatever, she goes, so I believe we've all had a fruitful investigation. Yes.
I had a very interesting encounter with a city watch.
Interesting encounter. That's one way of putting it when you're against the city watch.
Well, it's the against that I'm not sure what to make of. Run down the encounter in character, show them the pass.
And I think it takes Ishel like a minute to like parse all that, because I don't think she's very much still used to Jazara's way of doing things.
Well, a watchman with a conscience. Whatever will they think of next?
Well, it's either a watchman with a conscience or a watchman leading us into a trap.
Not two.
Not that the two can't be joined within the same skull.
Also very true. Or they don't realize it's a trap and they think they're helping us.
That's one way they'd be joined in the same skull.
And sorry, go ahead.
But this is a path that we didn't have before.
And I think at that point, Ishel like pulls out the little vial and does her own rundown. She's a little bit more flourishy because she's just so used to having to like talk in an entertaining way. It's like I trust enough from my experience that this isn't poison or anything that would be against what we need. So at least if we need to get someone, if the dreams is that powerful, we might have an antidote.
Interesting. Well, I suppose we had better see what more we can find. The stream sounds like it's a powerful. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
Whether or not it will be useful, I suppose we shall have to see.
Getting into this neighborhood will be much harder.
We have the pass.
That's correct.
They'll just let us walk in.
Should we try to have a cover for it, or just simply walk in as ourselves?
We have the pass.
But with the pass, people will still be. The guard will still be on watch.
We have the pass.
All right. I think Ishel takes like a sip of her drink, like a little frustrated.
Yeah, no, I'm baffled why you keep asking questions. Like this. We have the pass. This will get us in.
Should I mention like which neighborhood it is so you have a better idea
Yeah,
of
sure.
where you're going? And I think we retcon this a bit because I was trying to figure out which one, but this isn't any neighborhood. The rumor said this was Derelictus, the shanty town down south, but no. I think also bundled in the amulet it opens up is kind of like a note, probably from Yara saying where the neighborhood is.
Okay.
It's situated up top at a place at a district called Ivory Row, which you all know as people who live there is that it used to be the place where Alfir lived. This is kind of like this was like the suburbs, you'd say, of Spire. Nice big mansions, the place of living. But it's been in decay recently because the Alfir have moved on to much more fashionable quarters down in the Silver Quarters specifically, and in Amaranth and whatnot. And Ivory Row has kind of been left to gently decay, but it's still it's still a place where some high society folk live. And
It also looks like there's like graveyards and cathedrals and stuff there from what I was seeing.
yeah, it's it's very, and parts of Perch are there as well. And not the entire Ivory Row, but you just know where you're going is at Ivory Row.
Sure.
So, yeah, I think Ishel just nods at the two of you and is like, all right, well, if we want to do this now, it probably would be the best. Unless you have any other things you need to do before we go.
No, I think the sooner we see what effect this is having, the better.
Okay. Is that scene, or do you want any more things you want to bring up?
No,
I think that's a good scene.
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. Let's take a break then. Let's say 'cause it's been an hour. We'll say 5 minutes, and then we'll open you up whatever you want to do at Ivory Row. Cool.
Okay.
I'm just rereading the section on Ivory Row in the book. Wow, it's full of terrible people. All right, fab. We're all here. Sorry about that. I'm just reading some stuff there. All right, so you all are headed up to Ivory Row, which is as I mentioned, it is kind of like the former like seat of Elfir power before they moved on to shinier, gaudier things. In the cycles of time, probably in like the next 100 or 200 years, they'll probably move back to Ivory Row. Let's see, well, probably, maybe not. When you, let's say, hold on. When you're moving into Ivory Row, you're not when you're going into this district. I want to let's paint like the scene a bit. When you go up there, what are the signs that? Yeah, give me each a sign of like what of when the Alfir used to dominate this place. Like, what are the signs that they were this was used to be their seat of power? Elfet.
So I think as we come in sort of through one of the sort of grand staircases leading up here, as we get to it, it's obvious that at one point all of the on sort of the outside wall here, there are huge like floor to ceiling windows to let in the sunlight. Currently, most of them have been boarded up and covered with makeshift curtains and the like. But yeah, there were clearly sort of huge windows here, giving a commanding view over the surrounding area and letting in the sunlight.
All right, Ishel. That's fab.
Along with the windows, I think there's like faded like murals of kind of like in the style, like what would be the style like you usually see in like in the Fallout games, that 1950s like postcard picture perfect kind of things, but done in the Alfir style. Like here was like the perfect like place to have your family kind of thing. And some of them have been obviously graffitied over by this point, but yeah, they're still very prominent and all around.
All right, Jazara.
There are little guard shacks. So like I liked your idea of kind of the British, like the Buckingham Palace thing. You know how they have those little like, basically it's almost like a closet that they just sort of stand in there. There are these little guard shacks kind of interspersed, you know, like every couple of blocks there's one on a street corner, where clearly this is where like a watchman used to stand to assist citizens and give them directions and make all the rich people that lived here feel secure, because there was like a cop on every corner. And now they're abandoned. You know, people have like clearly there's a few of them in the more out of the way corners that have been used as outhouses. But you know, they're there and they bear the colors of, you know, whatever royal house was in charge at the time, you know, when like the last time there were actually guards stationed here, but now they just sit empty without any actual guards in them.
I think you notice where the guards are when you kind of walking around, and that's the thing: vast empty mansions, guard posts, faded murals. It's all there, and sometimes you see. Not say the streets are deserted, but it's not bustling. It's it's sparse. You'll see maybe a couple of Elfir, and you know what the Elfir are. They have these gaudy clothes, ridiculous masks, and they act like the three of you are kind of like they look at the three of you as as your dirt. They don't even notice you as you kind of make your way towards what is clearly okay. So how this works is that you kind of turn a corner of the street, and suddenly you see like a big makeshift gate that's clearly just been lashed together very recently. It's like it's duct taped together, rivets and steel and glass, and you can see it's not there because it's kind of sectioning off these mansions to each side of you, as this place has just been built to like hold people in, I guess. I think parts also when you're walking on Ivy Row, there's even though it's empty, there's a lot of music or sound. It's like a copy of noise like coming from the left or coming to your right. It's like a lot of like they're like weird enough, there are like parties happening around. You can hear like people trying to enjoy themselves, but not behind the gate. And in front of the gate is a veritable legion of city guard. Like there are some folks that are just two lines of like six almost soldiers each kind of standing next to the gate, not in front of it but just next to it, as there are folks like you can hear like debate and lights coming out of the mansion to the right of the gate as they're trying to decide kind of what's happening. And there is kind of like a small crowd outside. You notice it is mostly like Elfir. Well, you can't tell because a lot of them are wearing masks. And there's a person and there's a line of guards trying to keep them at bay. And you can hear people saying like, my father's in there, or my painting is in there, or my stuff's in there. And you'll hear from what's the name? You'll hear from Lady Theron Thorns on Silk for your for this insolence. It is just a crowd of people who like just been deterred from coming in. What do y'all do?
Yeah, just march right up to to the gate there.
Yeah, and I think when you, I'm gonna assume Jajara's taking the lead. When you take the lead, you and your big feck off hyena, you can hear swords being drawn, and this faceless city guard who looks almost exactly like Yara, the one you encountered, just like and it just sidles up to you, and you hear this deep rumbling voice go, "And where does one think you are going, priestess?"
We're here on business for the Elfir, and I just show him, but just hand him the pass. Actually, sorry, I do not hand it to him. I hold it in my hand so that he can read it.
Yeah. He's gonna swipe it off your hand.
Yeah. Okay.
He's gonna look at it. It's the thing is, because Elfir are all hoity-toity. This isn't this is an amulet. And it's like a star with
that's right. Yeah, it's an amulet. That's right. So I hold it by the chain, and he swipes it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But yeah, he's looking at it, and like maybe you can tell if you spend much time with the Elfir, but there's a weird coded language in the glass and in the inscription or whatever. And he looks at the rest of you. I assume Ishel, you're back to your normal self.
Yeah. She has the hood up a little bit more because I think she'd be recognized more around here since there's a collective of idols around and such. It's very artsy bohemian, so yeah, she doesn't want to get mobbed by people right now, obviously.
Elephant, are you in your superhero gear or?
No, currently his mask is just plain black. Just sort of normal mask, really. He's wearing a kind of long cloak with the hood up.
I think, yeah, he sees the three of you, and I think the amulet is basically saying, "Yeah, I'm not allowed to question you." But he's like, "Well, everything seems to be in order, but you might not have been told of this, priestess. But those who come into the quarantine zone, coming out will take time. We'll need to ascertain that you and your colleagues have not been infected by the disease, and waiting time might take. It'll probably take more time than you'd expect. So I advise that any lingering commitments you have for the next week or so have been terminated before coming in. Is that understood?"
I don't say anything. I just hold my hand out for my amulet back.
Yeah, he's gonna drop it there, and yeah, and he nods to whatever. You don't see who he nods to, as this gate, which when you come close, you realize it's more glass than steel. Kind of like it doesn't open, it doesn't swing outwards. It's kind of like disintegrates in the middle, just to leave this small opening, and he says, "Well, good luck in there."
And I turned to, who was it that was like hollering about wanting their painting back?
Oh, okay. This dude, he's wearing a very ridiculous poncho. And you can tell his poncho is actually a tapestry of great deeds, and on the tapestry, it's a Elfir figure pointing outwards on a cliff, as almost leading these, and behind them are some downtrodden drow following his lead. He's got like a big mask with like a headdress, the spiky headdress, like a hedgehog coming out, and this big kind of like faceless yellow slab of a mask, and then it's just a black slit. And he's saying that, that tapestry has been in my family for centuries. It is a record of our great works, and rest assured.
Tell me where to find it. I'll bring it back out to you.
I think when you say that, it's he doesn't even question that a drow is doing something for him, and he kind of goes like, a sensible one, and he kind of pats you in the shoulders, and he says, my work can be found in the mansion of, let's see, what's the name? What's a cool name for a mansion? I need to give him a name, actually. His name is because Alfir have weird names. Their surnames are sentences. So give me a moment. His name is Cost, Caust. Cost seeks the light. I'd say Cost seeks light. And I wrote down sex the light. That's weird saying out loud. Seeks the light for those watching. And he says, capital idea, my good woman. You'll find a tapestry in the mansion of light and discovery. It should not be hard to find. You'll find it near the uppermost part of the ivory row, closest to that, what they call perch.
And I hold out a hand and I say, key.
Yeah, he's not going to question this. He's definitely a type. Yeah, he gives you this very ridiculous, elaborate key that's actually two keys in a ring. Like the key in Pirates of the Caribbean, for those who remember that film.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's made of ivory and glass, and he says, be sure not to sully this painting. It is of my ancestor. It is of my ancestor founding the very foundations of Spire. So it is a very important heirloom, my dear.
And I kind of point at the guard and I say, you heard him. We don't know how long it's going to take to get out. If you have any sway whatsoever and can see to it that our progress, that our egress is not impeded, it will put the tapestry in your hands that much sooner.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna get you to compel this because this guy is a dipshit. He nods. So of course, anything to get my my painting back. He's not even gonna talk about you, and yeah, he nods and it's like, well, that's that, like he's business satisfied, and he just turns and walks away from you. It's like, all right, business satisfied.
All right. So I'll walk back to my companions. I think we can assume that you guys overheard that. And I don't say anything. Total, flattened. Like no, just completely stone faced as we, pass through the checkpoint and into the quarantine zone here.
I think when you pass by the guard, I don't know how he managed to do it, but he managed to raise an eyebrow in that mask, and you can tell. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you walk in and the glass gate closes behind you, the weirdest thing is that it feels normal here, or at least as normal as Ivory Row was. It feels like, yeah, it's fairly sparse. Again, there's not much people around. It feels still, but it's a different sort of still. In Ivory Row, it's faded. It's it's like sinking into mire. It's forgotten. Here, it's a tense stillness. Even as you still hear sounds of like a party or a gathering happening in like, I think when you walk in, it's like a long street, and you can tell there's lots of big buildings on the edge. And on the edge, you can kind of see bits of upper perch poking through, clearly like on the side of Spire. And that's important because perch is where the bound usually work from. But yeah, there's some big buildings on front. There's like two specifically that are quite noticeable. There is hold on, I'm sure it's right. There is a weird higgled. It's like you can tell there's a bunch of dilapidated mansions kind of like to your right, but you can tell someone has been making extensions to connect them all together. It's like it's a lot of like walls and extra houses almost kind of leashed together. It's a very higgledy-piggledy like collection. And to the right, or to the left, sorry, my left. To the left, it's a mansion that looks more like a cathedral, I'd say. It's a big, long edifice. And those are the kind of two main sites you see on the distance. But when you walk in, someone, a shadow kind of falls right in front of you, kind of like falls. This person kind of like just falls in and kind of, I don't want to say doing the Iron Man pose, but he's totally doing like a 3-point landing. And I think he's wearing kind of like this blood red sort of bird mask. But I think, especially you, Elephant, you can probably tell this is another bound. And it's kind of like he's all he has like a coat, he has like a scarf and kind of like these black and brown leathers, and he's got a glove, and he kind of lands in front of you and looks at the three of you and says, "Well met, fellow drow. What brings you to this accursed place?"
Nothing that we need to discuss with you.
Well, my dear priestess, this place happens to be under my jurisdiction. And yeah, his bird mask kind of turns to Eliphet. He says, "You seem to be outside your station, my good man. I'll ask again, what brings the three of you to this accursed place?"
I have a passing curiosity in the curse itself, as it happens. It is perhaps concentrated here, but it is rumored to be spreading outside.
The revolution shall sing the spire to waking. How I've heard those lines again and again. And you say it's spread outside of this place, correct?
So it is believed, or so people fear. And as you know, when the Alfir begin to fear, things can go badly.
Some would say the Alfir are right to fear what's coming. But it seems they have been good at keeping their fear down for now. And he kind of flourishly turns his back on you, and as if he's gonna monologue with his back to you, basically. That's what it feels like. This city is no, he's not gonna do that. He's gonna go on. He's saying that of all the places for revolution to spring, Ivory Row, you would think Ivory Row, former seat of Alfir power, would be the least likely. But where there are concentrations of power, of course, there are those who that power has been visited upon. And they've certainly brought something here that made Alfir fear that their time is up. I've yet to ascertain what that is exactly, because for my sins and for my works, those who are downtrodden in this land have grown to distrust people like us, people who are lucky to be able to walk between the downtrodden and the powerful. After all, how did the three of you get in here? Through the gate.
I'm wearing the amulet.
Yeah.
I have it on and I'm wearing it around so that like if we run into any patrols on this side, they'll see that we're authorized to be here.
Yeah, and he kind of turns and looks at us like, of course. Luck and ingenuity, I suppose. All right.
Something like that.
Well, let me tell you what you'll find here. What you do with it, I'm curious to see. But here in this place, you'll find something that has shaken the Alfir to the core. And it is of their own kind, preaching for their downfall. Ivory Row is ruled by 3 landlords, and 2 of them have joined forces to bring about the ruin, some would say, of the Alfir. And they've sought fit to blame a dream for this. Now, it seems it is up for you to decide whether this dream is true or not. But don't let me surmise what your motives for coming here are.
Have you been partaking in the dreams?
You see his smile. He's turned around. Yeah. Chef. Turn around and smiles. It's like, I've had a dream once, and it was of comfort. It was of lying down. It was of bliss. That's the only dream I've let myself have. What about yourselves? Do you not all dream?
Not in a way that scares the Alfir like this. What caused, since you seem to be the one that knows everything about this neighborhood, what was the cause for them to finally shut this section down?
It was a declaration and a joining of forces. As I mentioned, the Ivory Quarter, it's ruled by these three landlords who have no cause to love each other. Lady Theron Thorns on Silk, and he gestures to the big stately cathedral mansion. She cares only for pleasure and for nostalgia. Archbishop Wynne, he gestures to the higgledy-piggledy collection of mansions. He has more mysterious designs. He is a worshipper of the sun who wants to bring the light of it all to Spire. Two souls that have no cause to join together, but they have now. And if you think that they have been fallow as the rest of Spire tries to shut them away, I believe the two of them are to unleash a conflagration that would engulf, if not the whole of Spire, then enough to eat as many souls as it can catch.
Neither of them stand with the ministry?
When you mention the ministry, I think he kind of gets to that, aha. And he says, they dream only of bringing about revolution. Cause, effect, history, what leads to it. No, they seem to not care about that.
Do you stand with the ministry?
I stand with those who would work for freedom. The ministry, they seem to garner those who believe in the same.
So you wouldn't impede their business here?
And I think at that he kind of like almost a symbolic. It's like he kind of steps aside, and he says like, "My only wish is that whatever happens here will not engulf." And his head kind of points towards. You see upper perch there. It's like, my wish is that whatever happens here will not engulf those that I love. And I think when he says, oh, go on.
I say you should go to them then.
Yeah, I think he says, I shall keep watch. To help them, perhaps it is better to help you. But know that if a conflagration does happen, my priority will be to my loved ones. Whatever you three do here, well, the consequences will and should be met upon the three of you.
We're here to see to it that only the right people get hurt.
And I think he turns to you, Elifet, and he says, good brother, you have made some fascinating bedfellows.
I try my best.
Well, you have succeeded so far. And I think he's gonna pull out a grappling hook, and he kind of gives you all like a very serious nod. This man in the red mask. That's he is. He's the man in the red mask. I think one more thing he says, and he says like, if you wish to seek more help, find the hidden. The hidden are those who live in the cracks. Those who are caught in between. They've been here for as long as there have been mansions and there have been cathedrals and there have been those who seek to rule. find them, and you'll soon see what sort of revolution they dream of. And with that, he kind of and he doesn't just have a grappling hook; he has a grappling pistol. As
Nice.
he kind of shoots it off and just kind of zips away.
Isha,
Oh, God.
Ishel, as soon as he's gone, Ishel turns to Elephant and is like, I think I prefer your less showiness when you're out and about.
Well, I try not to get too over the top until I'm fully in costume.
He has served notice that this is his territory and that we're under his eye, and we should know that any who see us with his eyes.
And Ishel nods. So, shall we try to interact with this Lady Theron or go up against the Archbishop?
I feel that whichever of them you're better versed in such things than I, which of them is the more acquisitive? Which would more covet, and I hold up that fancy key, a history of the Elfir back to the founding of the Spire in the form of a ridiculous tapestry?
It would seem maybe the Lady Theron, even though she'll probably be engulfing herself with such frivolities as pleasures, she does seem to be the more nostalgic type. And what better nostalgia than the history of the Spire? Back to the good old days, as they sometimes say.
Well, perhaps we should pay a visit to our friend's mansion first.
Sure. Maybe we might find some other secrets there.
Indeed.
All right, so you're gonna head off to Cost Seeks Delights.
Yeah.
All right, so what did he say? He said it was a mansion of the mansion of light and discovery, which is very helpful for those who want to go there. I think. Yeah, let's keep painting the scene because I kind of want to know, like, what makes this quarantine place different compared to the rest of the Ivory Row. Like, it kind of has the same things as you mentioned. There's the murals, tapestries, the guard boxes that are empty, the boarded up mansions. But like I mentioned, this place is a powder keg. What feels different here?
I think there's a lot more graffiti on the walls here, and it's fresh. But I think it's not nonsensical in the sense that, like, it's gibberish, but there doesn't seem to be any particular message to the graffiti. They'll maybe just say things like change with a big exclamation mark, but yeah, not really any coherent message.
I think there's a lot more garbage on the streets, and it's not necessarily garbage, but like anything that was definitely made for the Alfir has been thrown away and broken. Like usually, maybe sometimes they're usually kept to be sold or whatever. But here it's like, no, we don't. We need like basically an example of throwing off our chains. And so it's like we shouldn't hold anything that the Alfir do or create into a higher standard. So it's so stuff like that is littered across the streets.
Hmm. We occasionally like down alleys or in the like windows of abandoned buildings, we'll see packs of children, groups of kids, maybe 2, 3 at a time, but there's probably more of them. Because when this quarantine happened, almost certainly people were separated from their families. And this is not a thing that we saw in other parts of this, of like groups of kids out on the street on their own. And we don't know anything about them. We don't know what like barring running some down and approaching them. They're always giving us a wide berth, but keeping an eye on us. Whenever we go through wherever it is, but we definitely see, like I said, the like groups of kids are around and keeping an eye on us.
Yeah, I think those are all fab. I think when you're walking through there's all these detritus and the rabble walking around. When you get to the mansion, and it's not a mansion, it's a house, of course. Well, the first thing you notice is that it's kind of like a crumbling brick and glass sort of house. It's weird. Like when the mortar looks like it's glass woven into the bricks, but it's clearly a brick house. It looks old fashioned even compared to the other houses next to it. And you hear music coming from the inside, and it's like this strange sort of wailing, scratchy jig. What do you do?
Get a key. Walk up and unlock the door.
I think when you open up the door, you're in this. It opens up to a sitting room. It's weird. It just opens up, and it's kind of like this weird. It's this crumbling, dilapidated wooden rotted sitting room with there is like a stone lounge chair or a stone divan to the side, and this filigree table, and you can see just on the banister kind of to your left is the painting, and you see there's these two. Well, first thing you see is that there's two Alfir. You can tell they're Alfir because they're fully clothed up. These two Alfir women, in dress, just kind of dancing with each other, and the music is coming from this kind of glass disc that's kind of vibrating a bit as it's emitting music, and they're also accompanied by two city guard who are there. So when the three of you come in, one of them, whose mask is like an open agape scream and it's got angry eyes, looks and is like, "What is this? What is this? Who are you, rabble, coming in here?"
We're not the rabble. We have the key. We were sent here by the owner of the house to retrieve something.
Ownership. And the other woman's like, "Ownership. Well, we know who owns this place." And this woman's mask, it looks like it's made out of shards of glass, kind of fit together for this face. And she's kind of like, "As far as we're concerned, Cost seeks the light, relinquished ownership once he fled, and decided that his life was far better to well, that his life was more important than what we're doing here. So as far as concerned, this house is of no property, but for those who have come here, and we have come here.
To
Who are the
dance?
rest of you?
You've come here to dance with guards. How is that any better than fleeing?
Um, I think the one with the glass mask one is like, young lady, your tone is out of order. The three of you are trespassers here. And you dare come here, propose to give us terms. And with that, kind of like the two city guard kind of like hands on their swords. They've got swords.
And I would like to do disharmony.
Ooh, what's disharmony?
Make a deceive occult roll and pick a target that can see and hear you. On its success, they will immediately inflict stress on their nearest ally equal to whatever weapon they're holding, believing them to be an enemy. And so I would put this on the guard to not attack us or threaten us, but to threaten the two ladies.
All right. So do you have deceive and occult? Yes, you do. Of course, you do.
Yeah.
You wouldn't take this roll if you didn't have it. That would be ridiculous. All right. So that's 3d10. Is anyone assist? Can anyone assist on this? With whatever skills and domains they have? I don't think so, because this is occulty stuff, you know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
only Furious would have.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3,
Stuff hanging out with the gnolls, probably.
Probably.
3d10.
9.
9. All right.
I've been rolling really well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what's gonna happen is, all right. See, they have a d6. Let me just look up my stats. Stat blocks. That is kind of thing.
So I think the way it comes out is Ishel just like puts a hand out and does like a dismissive wave and does like a 3-chord hum as part of the spell, but at the guard. As soon as the guard looks like they were coming towards us.
All right. Roll me a d6. Because technically I would roll that because I'm controlling the guards, but I found running Spire and Spire adjacent stuff, like when rolling to deal stress, it's better for the players to roll it. It's just
Okay, 1 second.
gets them invested.
4.
4. All right. So yeah, when you dismiss them, one of the guards, it looks like they overacted as they pull out the sword and kind of smash the sword against the person next to them, as yeah, and that kind of catches them off guard and kind of knocks them back. At that, the two ladies kind of scream and they shout that Lady Theron will hear about this, as they kind of make a run deeper into the house. The two of them kind of like hands holding as they run, like, they shout like, yeah, Lady Theron will hear of intruders. As they're gonna run deeper. I'll go to Elephant. What are you doing?
I think as they start running into the house, I'm going to so because I'm sort of just inside the doorway, I'm actually going to launch my grappling hook up to the floor above, and go in through the window and attempt to essentially listen for where they're running and try and follow them sort of on the floor above.
Ooh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. All right, let's build that roll. Let's see. You get a D10. I say this is pursuit.
Yep.
And
Where am I? Yep.
and your high society counts here, and you're near
Cool.
Perch. This place is high society. You kind of know what these buildings are like.
Sure thing.
All right, so that's 3d10.
Yep. I'll get myself some dice up. Ooh, a 6 is my highest. That wasn't great.
6. Oh, well, 6 is still a success. It's just that you're
Yeah.
gonna take stress for this.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing sounds fairly complicated. So
Yep, that's fair.
yeah.
And as he sort of launches up, the mask will unfurl again, and he'll sort of unfurl the cloak as well.
That is fab. All right. So this sounds like a bit of physical. This is a very physical thing you're doing. So you're gonna take some blood stress. So what I want you to do, because it's part of your game, roll me a D3.
Sure thing.
To do that, use the XDY button.
Oh yeah, that's it. If I can see it, there we go.
Yeah, the gating stress bit is honestly probably the most stressful part of this system. Oh, that's a 3.
3.
All right. So I'm explaining all this so that people who watch this might see this. They want to learn about Spire. So whenever you roll stress, I'm going to roll a D10 here. And if I roll under your total amount of stress, you are going to suffer fallout, which is a bad thing. That'll happen. So I'm just going to roll this. I saw it as a 0, but that's actually a 10. So, okay, so you're doing fine for now. So you're definitely on the pursuit as you go up the second floor and you're tracking them down. Jazara. So Ishel made a gesture. The one guard slammed the sword into the other guard. The 2 ladies have fled. What do you do?
The guard slammed the sword into the other guard. Did he kill him or?
No. What's happened is it's knocked him back, but the sword is kind of like not bounced, not embedded. It's kind of embedded itself in the armor. There's a moment of confusion here as the other guy's like, well, what the fuck? He's not dead yet.
He doesn't. The other dude doesn't have a sword in his hand right now, right?
No.
Got it. Okay, so now I'm not sure what the action economy in Spire is. I mean, can I sick my dog on one guy and attack another guy, or is it effectively like kind of like a little combat bonus and we're presumed to be attacking the same person?
I think let me check let me see the moves you took for the hyena. I think
I've got
they don't apply to combat right now at the moment. Right?
I've got guard. When you take stress to blood, take 1 less than the result rolled to a minimum of 1. I've got scent when you sniff around. Oh yeah, so it doesn't really fight for me in it's like mechanically it doesn't do anything for me in a fight except guard me. I like yip twice that indicates it's that I want him to guard me. And then the guard that looks confused because he just got stabbed, I'm gonna put my axe in his face.
All right, let's build that dice. So you get 1d10. This is clearly fight. You don't have fight. I don't think you have a domain for this. You're not in low. No, these aren't religious folk. Does anyone want to assist? I think Ishel, you're the only one there. You think you have a skill or domain that can help out Jazara?
Well, you said it before. Would it be considered high society?
What are you doing then with that domain? Skill. Let me check.
Well, actually, I wanted to use high society. I probably would use compel to try and get them to, if they want to live, to stand down.
Okay.
Or just leave. If you're willing to leave, you can still live and keep on.
Is that like a distraction so that Jazara can axe them in the face?
We'll make it easier, to axe them in the face.
All right. Okay, so that gives you an extra D10 then. So it's 2D10.
I'm rolling 2D10.
Yep.
I got a 9.
Fab.
Sorry, I take the highest one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I got a 9.
Fab. All right. So, hold on. Let me check. something. All right, yeah, no, stress die. All right, so roll me. What's your war cleaver deals a d6. Roll me a d6.
Sure does. All right. Okay. So that's a 2.
All right, so the thing is, you're gonna better face, but they're wearing the city guard masks, so
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of blunts it. Which one were you aiming for? The one without a sword, right?
No, the dude that got stabbed by his buddy.
All right, so hold on, let me look at these stats. So I think
The one that did the stabbing still looks pretty baffled, so I'm gonna finish the job that he started.
yeah, I think what happens is actually, yeah. I think what happens is you've got a pretty heavy war cleaver, and you've got a bit of power, but the guard mask, it's just enough to like blunt it a bit. But he's
Sure.
he's been knocked back, and he's brought down to ground as your war cleaver kind of smashes against his face. I think it kind of bends the armor a bit. It kind of crushes into his face, but he's still standing. He's just delirious and confused. Meanwhile, the other guard is kind of like getting their wits together and is pulling out a pistol. Understand? It's aiming at you, Ishel. What do you do?
What can I do? Let's see. I can't instill emotion yet. Once per situation, I'm going to cast glamour and become.
I was actually wondering, like, are you gonna do? Okay, all right.
Yeah, like she's not a fighter.
Fair enough.
Let's see. So yeah, I quickly whip out the because I think I used lipstick last time. So the same thing, like lipstick to put on as I hum a series of notes, and instantly transforms into his ideal, whatever that is.
Oh, this is embarrassing. You kind of turn into. Well, you don't see this, but Jazar will see this. You kind of turn into one of those ladies, especially the one with the glass mask. So you've turned into it, and he's hesitated because you just turned into a lady. Oh, what do? You get a chance to maybe talk him down, or what do you do when you're dressed as that?
I'm hoping with the confusion that like he doesn't understand what's going on, and be like, surely you wouldn't shoot upon me, and from having the been around high society, act almost exactly like her, and just pleadingly like, I thought you cared about me.
Oh, all right. So that's a roll. That sounds like compel
And deceive again, right?
or deceive. One or the other.
That's right.
You can only take one skill. High society.
And then with high society, yeah, and that's a mastery, so I get to roll 3 again.
Well, it's only a mastery if you're using that specific knack.
Oh, never mind. So it's 2.
But you do still get roll 3 because it's 1 for luck, 1 for skill, and 1 for domain. So that's 3d10.
Oh, okay. Sweet. All right. Oh shit! 3.
What you get? Oh,
That's my highest.
Oh dear.
My luck had to run out eventually.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see what happens when you get a 3. It's just a straight up failure. Okay. So I think what happens here is, let's see. I think he actually, okay. No. I think what's clearly going to happen here is because you brazenly just transform into his right in front of him.
Yeah, I was a little cocky.
I think he says like, "Your meager tricks aren't going to work on me, Drow." As he's going to shoot you in the leg. So
Fair.
you're going to take D6 blood stress. Roll me a d6, would you kindly?
Yes. 4.
4. Oh, all right, 4, and you don't have any resistance in blood. All right, let's see if you suffer fallout. Okay, so no, you've been shot in the leg, but I think it's more like you have been you're still kind of like, well, how does it feel actually to be shot in the leg by a magic gun?
Not too good, obviously. Ishel's been used to a lot of different kinds of pains, usually to do with a knife. So, being shot is a whole new experience for her. So she does cry out. The cry out is more that it failed than the pain, I think. As she yeah, she would collapse to the floor and just hold the leg. And she still has the glamour on because it doesn't come off until she manually like wipes the lipstick off. It's like, just how dare you, like, kind of thing.
All right, but yeah, you're still like you've not suffered fallout, so you're still kind of fine. I think it's more like it doesn't like embed into your leg. It kind of more like grazes into it. I think he's still kind of like confused by
Yeah. It was
shooting
still,
on.
but yeah, that was a complete failure. So
Alright.
she totally did not take it well.
Aw. All right, Elephant. You're on the chase. What are you doing? You can track them. You can kind of like see where you know where they're going. What do you do? What are you doing? I think while you're tracking down, the weird thing is this house is deeper back probably than you expect. It's like someone, it looks small on the outside, but it keeps going.
Sure thing. Ooh, this is a tricky one. I don't know whether I want to stop them from going where they're going or to follow them to where they're going. No, I think I'm going to keep following them for now.
All right. I think because of the success, I think you're definitely gonna follow them for now. As I'm kind of imagining you like parkouring through this dilapidated mansion, jumping over like chairs and
Swinging on a chandelier over a sort of atrium bit.
Yeah. Would they know that you're following it? Can they hear you as you jump on these chandeliers? Okay,
Probably not. I'm certainly trying not to be seen.
I think the thing is they're not stopping. They're kind of running pell mell. They've left the city, the poor city guard, to their fates, I guess. I think you notice this when you notice when you reach the end of the house, it kind of gives way, and there's like a small alleyway, and you're kind of at the top floor as they burst out of the second floor and kind of like pant as they're standing against this wall, and the wall is an opening, and if you look up, you see that you're actually on the shadow of the giant cathedral building, the home of Lady Theron, Silk on Thorns or Thorn on Silk.
Something like that. Yeah, I can't remember which
Yeah,
way around it was.
Thorns on Silk. There
Yeah.
we go. And they're kind of panting, and they're kind of like they're trying to talk, but they're clearly out of shape. You've got a moment here as they've stopped. What do you do?
I think I'm going to drop down behind them, and
Swear to be.
say, "I am sorry to intrude, ladies, but I have a few questions, and I would be most pleased if you would answer them for me."
It sounds like a roll. Let's see. Oh, if only there was a skill for intimidate.
It's probably compel, which I don't have.
Yeah, you're not sneaking. You've snuck up on them. This is more like seeing if what they'll do. Oh yeah, you don't have compel. You're in high society, as mentioned, so that can still work. So that's a 2d10.
Yep, sure thing. I lost the tab. No, that's not it. There we go. Ooh, that's a 4.
Oh, ooh, ah, ah. Okay, so what's gonna happen here? Oh shit. Okay. That's fine. Yeah, yeah. Uh, no worries, no worries. Step out and as you need to. I think we'll wrap up soon then. After this, I think what's gonna happen is to you, Elifet, is when you're standing behind them, right? So your back is kind of to the entrance, to this kind of entrance leading towards this hole leading towards the cathedral. And when you say like you've got a few questions, I think you hear the sounds of of guns cocking as these these three these three more what looks like city guard, but you notice their armor is more lashed together. It's not like the full suit. I mean, they still have the same masks, but they've clearly been lashed together from different kinds of armor and suits and whatnot. And they've got these like 3 pistols. And I think when you jump down, the 2 ladies scream. But then when when you hear the guns cocking towards you, they start immediately. Their demeanor turns to laughter, and it's kind of like, well, that's funny because we have a few questions to you, you rude interloper. Let's jump back one final bit to Jazara. Jazara, so the other guard is concentrated on Isha at the moment, but you have this one on the ropes. Duskgrin is kind of like keeping watch on the other guard, growling, not gurring.
Sure.
Yeah. What do? Again, you kind of got the guard in his face, and he is flailing.
Okay. Um. Uh. Um. Man. Oh, I think it's axe in one hand, whatever, war cleaver in one hand, grab him by like the plate on the front of his armor, haul him up, and like kind of spin him around and like, put a boot in his ass to send him towards the door.
Ooh.
And I say, and basically I say, you're lucky the owner told us not to, you're lucky the owner only tasked us with removing any ruffians from the house. Leave, and you'll be all right.
Okay. It sounds like another roll there.
Leave and I won't have to murder you.
Ooh. I guess with this situation, I guess I'll give you an extra. I think I'm gonna say like because everything's kind of distracting. I'll give you an extra D10 because it could be nice because otherwise you only have 1.
Sure.
Go on.
All right. So just roll 2d10.
Yeah.
That is a 10.
Ooh. All right. So I think when after after Isha has been shot, and when the other guy turns to you, or you're talking to the other guy, you're talking to the one you just booted out the other guy, right? Yes.
I'm like get out.
Yeah, and I think when Sigurd kind of turns to you, I think he kind of you can kind of see like their shoulders kind of slump as they're kind of like, no, you're right. This is pointless. I don't need this grief. You'll get enough grief from Lady Theron soon.
And I like shrug, and I say she can take it up with her husband. That's who sent us.
Well, you got a 10, so I think he's gonna believe that. So yeah, I think he kind of like puts his pistol down on his holster. He's like, this sword, and just kind of like turn to his colleague and kind of drag her out. I like this image of you, saying, get out, and you've got Duskgrin next to you with, bared up and ready to fight. Is he gonna tell him to feck off? And yes, he does. He does feck off, and he kind of scrambles out, leaving you and Ishel back here for now. So I think we'll leave it there. If that's okay with everyone.
Fine.
Yeah, you got the mansion to yourself, and you got the painting. Elifet is he's in straits, dire, so to speak. Yeah, we'll leave it there. Let's stop the broadcast, and thanks very much for playing.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, no worries. And I'll stop the broadcast here. Goodbye, YouTube. Say goodbye to YouTube.